This is Lagers and Loudmouths, Conversations Unfiltered.
Welcome, thinkers and drinkers. We are on to episode, 29, Tyler?
29.
Episode 29. Been going for a little over a year now, and we're swimming in deep water. But yeah, welcome to episode 29. We've got a fun guest for you here. Flew in all the way from the great state of Massachusetts.
Still can't say it, can you?
I can't. I don't know why it's one of those words I can't say, but flew in all the way just for the recording of this episode. Who cares if he's related to Tyler in roundabout ways, but he flew in just for this. But before we get to the episode, let's talk about what we're drinking here.
Yeah, we are going back to Knoxville, Tennessee. I feel like we might have had this beer on the podcast before. I can't remember, but it is a really, really good beer, so we broke it out again. This is Big Boy Map from Next Level Brewing Company. It is a New England hazy IPA, coming in at 6.74% alcohol by volume, 33 IBUs, and a 3.97 score on Untappd, which is incredibly good.
Yeah, how many ratings is that?
1,700 roughly.
All right, that's not bad.
Yeah,
Good sample size.
Solid IPA. It says it's loaded with Citra, Mosaic, and Crypto Mosaic hops.
Now, what do they say on the can? It says flaked wheat and white wheat. What does flaked wheat mean?
So flaked wheat is just kind of think of it like, this is wrong, but think of it kind of like oatmeal.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
It looks like a flaked oat, but it's a different species of plant.
How is that different in like the brewing process than like just straight up wheat?
That I don't know. I know with flaked, like flaked oats and flaked wheat, you really don't get any kind of conversion in regards of starches into sugars to create alcohol.
Gotcha.
But flaked oat and flaked wheat is typically used for kind of like body and creaminess. It's more of like a mouthfeel, mouth texture
kind of like oatmeal. All right, I get what you're saying. Yeah. So that makes sense.
Little creamier, a little smoother. I haven't even tasted it yet, but I've had it many times before. It is a phenomenal IPA.
It really is. It's a good drinker. And I can get that, I guess, that creaminess that you're talking about there when you taste a sip of it.
Yeah, I always like to incorporate something like that in my IPAs just because I think it adds a little bit more body and balance, and I like that.
Sam, what do you think?
I think it's pretty darn good for an IPA.
Yeah, it's a good beer. For an IPA, do you not like IPAs? You said that.
No, I'd say they're my go-to.
Is it?
I'm usually more of like a hazy New England style.
All right.
So,
that makes sense. That Boston guy up there.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I do love a good hazy. If I had to pick an IPA, I'd probably go hazy as well.
Yeah,
they're overdone these days, but they are just an easy drinker.
I like the hazies because the bitterness is usually more subdued, and you get more of the hop flavor, not necessarily the West Coast bitterness. Like in a West Coast IPA,
puckers your cheeks
and everything.
Yeah.
American IPAs are kind of a good middle ground too. You get a little bit of, I think, the best of both worlds there: the bitterness and the flavor.
A good APA, yeah.
But,
good beer. Well done, Next Level.
That being said, Cam alluded to, we do have a special guest on the podcast today, Mr. Sam Harlander, flying all the way from Boston, Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. How do you say it, Sam?
Massachusetts.
Am I saying it wrong?
You got to put
a couple T's.
You got to put T's at the end.
Massachusetts. It's Massachusetts.
Yes.
There you go.
There you go.
Oh, all right. Well, we learned something new today. Podcast over.
But it is Thanksgiving weekend. We got some family in town. Mr. Sam is my sister's boyfriend, and he was generous enough to donate some of his time this morning to talk to us about a couple topics. But I'll kick it over to Sam. Sam, tell the viewers a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, that kind of thing.
Well, you started off by saying boyfriend. I would say domestic partner.
Domestic
partner.
partner.
It's the more accurate definition. But yeah, no.
I mean, in the eyes of the law, you are technically,
yes,
legally a thing. You just haven't gone through the official wedding ceremony.
No,
all that nonsense.
Not yet.
Not yet. All right, so it's on the horizon.
But yeah, so
right.
No, more than happy for any excuse to be cracking a beer a little after 10 in the morning. So thank you for
10
having me.
in the morning on a Sunday. I like it.
Well, that being said, Cam, why don't you kick us off with our serious topic of the day?
All right, so we were talking to Sam yesterday when we were all out drinking because, as you know, that's what we do. And we were trying to get an idea of what he wanted to talk about. And Sam is I guess you call yourself a pretty big gamer?
I would say so, yeah. Probably got the N64 when I was 7 and never turned back from there.
All right.
So.
What's your current game?
Right now I'm playing the Cyberpunk 2077 now that they finally gotten those glitches fixed over the last 2 years.
Yeah, of course, the glitches.
It's always the
I hate
glitches.
the glitches, yeah.
No, you remember the glitches back in the day when you had to blow in the cartridge? those are
NES.
glitches, and I've actually seen things that said that it actually did nothing, but I refuse to
Bullshit.
believe that.
That shit works
every time.
Every time.
All right. So with that being said, our serious topic and our fun topic is going to revolve around video games. Serious topic, you've kind of probably heard in media over the last, I don't know, probably 15, 20 years that violence in video games can lead to violence in real life. So that is that's our serious topic, is does exposure to violence in video games, playing things like Grand Theft Auto where you go around with hose and shooting everybody and prostitute, legit, if you've never played that game, you can pick up a prostitute and then the back of the car shakes and then the prostitute gets out and you can either pay her or kill her, depending on what you want to do. But yeah, so long story short, does violence in video games lead to violence in, I guess we'll say, in real life?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting question.
It is.
And I think if you would have asked me this 10 years ago, I might say no. But I think as time goes on,
so you're leaning towards yes.
I don't know. I really do think it comes back to kind of the environment you're in and how you're brought up. But the point I wanted to make is video games now are so much better in terms of quality and like the immersive experience that they program into it than they were 20 years ago. I mean, even in regards to like resolution and everything
100%.
like that.
Now you got the VR, you can legit put your whole body, you're like, you can't see anything else except what's in that video game.
Yeah, it's a much more immersive experience. If I had to say yes or no, I probably would still lean further towards no than yes.
Okay.
But I think you're on a constantly evolving playing field as technology advances too, and I could see how it may be more applicable now than it was 20 years ago.
All right, Sam, what's your off the cuff?
I've always kind of thought that that's kind of been a scapegoat, an excuse to kind of steer away from what could potentially be the true reasons why we're seeing some sort of increase in violence within the younger generations. I have two younger brothers. When I grew up playing video games, I was more on the more violent side, if you want to call it, the first-person shooters.
Yeah.
Middle brother was more in the Madden, NCAA football games, and then the younger one, kind of a smattering of everything.
And you're clearly the worst one in terms of violence.
So you could ask my mom. She will tell you that I'm definitely the most violent and aggressive of the three. But no, just in my small sample size of three boys, and then growing up predominantly playing video games, first-person shooters, your Call of Duties, your Battlefields, mostly as a social, something to get me out and play with my friends, especially moving away for college.
Are you an online gamer, or are you like a just play it by yourself kind of thing?
I'll do both.
Do you?
I'll do both. So yeah, most of the like online first-person shooters I'll use really is just an avenue to keep in touch with a lot of my college and high school friends.
Yeah.
Whereas when I get home from work, long day from work, I'll just throw on a single-player game and kind of lose myself for an hour or two.
Okay.
But I think, as Tyler was saying, that I think there's probably more going on than just video games being the cause of it. There's definitely, if you don't have stuff outside of those video games, I could definitely see it putting you down a bad path where you can't separate what's real and what's not.
Yep.
But for the most part, I would say that a lot of the data shows that while we've seen a skyrocketing increase in the amount of people playing and purchasing video games, we've also seen a pretty significant decrease in juvenile violent crimes.
Okay. Yeah, and I think I tend to align pretty well with both of you two. I think that it can exasperate it if there are underlying psychological issues already.
Oh, of course.
So if you have like a kid, I'll talk about a couple stories as we go throughout today, but there was back, you guys remember Columbine?
Yep.
There was some thoughts that those two guys were big into Doom. You remember Doom? That could have influenced their shooting and things like that. But clearly, those two kids had underlying psychological issues. So I think there could be an argument made for if you have underlying psychological issues, or if you have poor environment around you otherwise, that it could potentially maybe exasperate those. But I think for the average person, it's just an outlet. It's just a way to kind of lose some time, enjoy yourself.
You mentioned Columbine, and that I don't want to change the topic,
Yeah,
but kind of a similar rhetoric is Columbine and the band Rammstein had a little bit of a connection because of something that the shooter wrote down on a note or something like that. It was lyrics from a Rammstein song, and Rammstein's an industrial metal band, and they're pretty theatrical and got some not questionable things in their show, but a mature audience kind of vibe. So it's like kind of the same thing. It's like does media have influence on violent acts, kind of a thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could realistically say anything. I mean, your parents have an influence on if you're going to be a good person or a bad person. I mean, anything in your environment, I guess, technically could. So if we're going with that, then yeah, we have to say that video games could potentially influence you. But I think those are still the exceptions. Those aren't the norm. I think for your average person, it's just an outlet.
And when you brought this question up yesterday, I started thinking, because with video games, I think when you say video games and violence and how it affects kids, I think the go-to is Grand Theft Auto, right? Like that's always
that, and your Call of Duties, any of your first-person shooters, really.
Well, I kind of I can kind of speak from personal experience on this. So it's like, how every video game has a like an age rating on it, where you're not supposed to buy it if you're under a certain age, and if you do, you have to have a adult with you to say it's okay. I think my first experience with violent video games was probably Grand Theft Auto Vice City when I was like 12 or something, or maybe 10 to 12, somewhere in there. And, I convinced my mom that, no, this video game's not that bad. Like, it's fine. It's cool. And
it was terrible, Mary Lou.
Well, I ended up getting it. And, you play it, and there's some, swearing and hookers and all that shit. But that's really what brought me to my off-the-cuff answers, because like if you compare Grand Theft Auto Vice City to GTA 5, it's like night and day with what you're exposed to. So it's like, still looking back, I look at what experience I went through, and I still stand by that statement. It wasn't that terrible of a video game, but it also didn't have the highest resolution and all the intricate details that these video games have now.
That's true. Do you think that plays a factor, Sam? Like the modernity, I guess, of video games?
Oh, for sure. I mean, early video games, you had Super Mario, where you're jumping around on some little Goombas, and that's the extent of the violence in that game. Whereas now we've kind of come all the way where, as you were talking about, you can do the full VR, where you've kind of removed all of the outside stimuli, and you're just fully submersed in that game. So, yeah.
Have you done VR?
I have not. No,
I haven't either. I mean, I'd be interested to try it, but I'm not willing to spend the money on it. So
yeah, exactly.
One of the bartenders at the bar asked if I wanted to buy his VR setup, and I'm like, I really don't think I should. Like, this is a rabbit hole I think I could go down.
You've got an addictive personality as it is.
I do. So I'm like, you know what? It sounds fun, but I need a pass on that.
All right. So you brought up the ESRB rating.
Correct.
So that's what it was called. I never knew what it was until today. It's called the Entertainment Software Rating Board. Any guesses on when that came about and what caused that to come about?
I believe 96 in Mortal Kombat.
It was Mortal Kombat. It was 90s. Yeah, 100%.
That was good. I didn't know that.
So it was Mortal Kombat, I guess, and this was due to arcades. Actually, it was people were just playing arcade games, and kids were getting aggressive because they're kids seeing things fighting on a screen. So this is actually what brought about the ESRB. It didn't exist before that. Not that you needed it, because what did you have in the late 80s, early 90s? Jumping on Goombas. I mean, that's
exactly.
Zelda, the original Zeldas, there wasn't much to worry about. So that is a factor. And I mean, at the end of the day, the video game companies are doing their job, saying, "Hey, we probably think this is a mature game. Don't let your 12-year-old play it." And then at that point, it's up to the parents, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that's the proper way to do it. You got to inform the consumer of what you're putting out, and especially
just like a movie,
because children. I mean, I would say are children a protected class, quote unquote. I don't know in regards to like
legalities. I
don't know, but essentially they are, because that's the exact reason you have those ratings on there. But it's like, I think the ratings you're kind of comparing apples to oranges in the ratings, because Mortal Kombat in the late 90s with
absolutely nothing compared to the new ones you get these days.
I don't know what the rating was, but I assume it was at least like teen.
Probably.
for that
That's
game.
probably what they would have put it. I don't
But
even
it's
know
like-
if they had one.
It's
but-
almost like 8-bit graphics and like little orange things for fireballs and stuff like that. And it's like the detail was not there. Yes, I think you were kind of one step removed from the violence just based on the detail, because it's like, okay, yeah, I'm a guy playing this game and I, kick this person in the face and he flies and you got little fireballs and stuff like that.
And
But-
you at the end of the day, that's not real.
But yes, whereas now, I mean, you're in a completely immersed 3D
Right.
universe.
So
which-
your argument seems to be that with more modern technology, that we could be getting more towards violence potentially influencing,
I
just because it is so much more immersive and so much more realistic.
Yeah, I think so,
Yeah.
because
That's fair.
at least back in the day, you were. This is kind.
What do you think about that, Sam? Do you think that the quality, I guess, has a bigger impact than it maybe used to?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. When you can, all right, I go from riding my green little dinosaur
Yoshi, I love
to
Yoshi.
now I'm driving the car that I drive in real life, going around, and you have guns that exist in real life. You have ads, music, and all this makes you think that, oh, well, this is pretty much just real life. And
Yeah.
then trying to turn that off.
Separate that.
Exactly. It's,
I was gonna
very
say-
difficult.
Back in the day, I think you were one step removed, almost, in the sense that like you see this on the screen and you're like, okay, this is clearly not real. This is poor graphics. There's little dots and pixels and shit. Whereas now it's like people put pictures of like Grand Theft Auto 6 that's coming out or is out and compare it to actual places in the world that it was based off of, and it's almost hard to tell which one's the real
The separation,
photo
yeah.
and which
the
one's
graphics,
the video game.
the quality is just so much
It's,
superior.
it's just insane. So it's an interesting topic, and I do stand by the statement as time gets further and further along. I think you're less removed comparatively to late 90s or something like
no,
that.
I agreed. I mean, back then we had Zeldas, we had Marios. We didn't have. I mean, the worst game you had in terms of violence was Mortal Kombat, and that would probably get a soft, what's the lowest E rating these days?
Yeah, I believe so.
I mean,
Yeah, these
Ease for everyone.
exactly.
yeah, and I mean it's really thought provoking actually. The more you kind of digest
It is. So I got a couple studies. I like to bring in some studies. There's not a ton in terms of studies out there because honestly, video games haven't been around for 30, 40 years tops. But there was a moderately recent study. So this was a study done in 2019, and the title of the study, "Does playing violent video games cause aggression?" Basically, what they did is they had two groups. They had 90 adults, mean age of 28 years old. Before this, they had minimal gaming experience, so they weren't like avid gamers. And what they do is they assign them to three different groups. They had a violent game, which happened to be Grand Theft Auto 5. A non-violent game, which was The Sims. If you ever played The Sims, it's basically you're just making like houses and families and things like that. And then they had a control group. And basically what they did is they had the people play their whatever scenario they were put into for 30 minutes a day. And then they assessed them pre and post, and then 2 months later. So they consider this a longitudinal study in scientific terms. Longitudinal is over a long term. I personally wouldn't consider 2 months long enough to get any sort of realistic data. But what they did was they did a blinding, and they basically found that the violent video games for the people who played like the Grand Theft Autos were slightly higher. Again, this is based on like a survey, so.
And what does slightly higher mean? Is that statistically significant?
See, that's the problem with these types of things is you can't measure something like that because at the end of the day, you're measuring somebody's feelings.
Mhm.
Feelings are hard to measure. You can't quantify feelings. So you couldn't really give this a statistical significance one way or the other, but they did find that the group who played Grand Theft Auto versus The Sims did show potentially more aggressive behaviors.
I mean, I feel like if it really, truly had a significant impact, we'd have kind of a crisis on our hands
I
right
agree.
now.
Yeah, because I mean, you'd probably have all kinds of kids doing all kinds of things out there.
And honestly, like back in the day, I say back in the day, like
Back in the day.
back in the late 90s. But it's like back in the day, you had to actually have a physical console connected to your TV or an actual computer to play these games.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now there's so many free mobile
That's
apps
true.
that you can play that have, a lot of violence in it too. So the availability, I think, has only gone up and the cost has gone down, relatively speaking, because you do have the option to play all these free things.
Yeah.
And I think that if it was truly an epidemic, so to speak, you would see a lot more
violence,
and a lot more issues than we see.
I don't disagree. I mean, because it is so prevalent these days. Everybody's playing video games.
Yeah, it's available in less than 10 seconds at any given time for people.
Anybody.
Yeah.
All right, so with that being said, then do we think that there should be stricter age restrictions, or do you think age restrictions should just be null and void, or should it be completely up to parents? What do you think, Sam?
I would definitely leave it up to the parents. They know their kids the best. They know what's good for them and how they might handle things. I think good example, my mom, when she went away for a vacation, just for a weekend, she bought me and my brothers, it was World Is Not Enough, the James Bond game that came out after GoldenEye. It would have had I think it would have been rated M, came out in the early 2000s, so I could be no more than 9-10 years old.
Yeah.
And I think that those early first-person shooters, it was kind of just overlooked in, everybody just kind of likes these. These are the games of the times. And then as the GTAs became more realistic, that's when my mom became a little more hesitant. I wasn't able to get the first Red Dead Redemption, so it was essentially GTA but old Wild West.
Yep.
They wouldn't allow me to get that, even though it had the same rating, because they were like, "Oh, we're crossing the line, and this is becoming a little bit too realistic."
Gotcha.
So you have a younger brother. We should wait for him to be a little bit older so he could watch you play.
Gotcha.
And I think Grand Theft Auto is the game that kind of kicked off this argument.
It is, and I got another important case study, if you will. So I was trying to look for like actual examples of like real life examples where people have legit said, "Hey, video games possibly influenced this." So there was this guy in Norway, Anders Breivik, something like that, in 2011, who killed 77 people. And he was a very, very far right extremist in his country. So what he did is he killed 77 people over the course of like 2 spurs, I guess, however you want to put it. And he wrote like this 1,500-page manifesto that was seen after the fact, after he got caught and all that stuff. And he said that, hey, I used Call of Duty as like a plan. I use that as part of my training plan to help get myself ready to carry out these heinous acts. So he also referred to World of Warcraft a couple of times as his relaxation video game. So I mean, I think but again, I think ultimately this guy, clearly crazy, he had underlying psychological issues, and I think that could be exasperated in anybody if they have those underlying issues.
I think it comes back to what we said a lot on the podcast before, is that there's always outliers to situations. And, it's not the hundreds of millions of people that play Grand Theft Auto and don't go out and kill a bunch of people. It's the handful of people that do something really bad, and then there's some kind of tie to, that influence in their lineage.
I mean, everybody plays video games, so you could probably make a tie to any killer these days. I mean,
probably, yeah.
All right, that's fair. What about just as an outlet? You like video games for an outlet? I know you do, Sam. That's kind of your go-to, right?
Oh, for sure.
I used to, yeah, and I still do, actually. I just don't have, as much time as I used to do.
That's my problem. I've got the PS5 sitting up there. I bought it a couple years ago. I've legit probably played it a couple dozen times since I bought it.
I mean, a couple months ago, I downloaded some video games on my computer that I played back when I was in high school, just because
nostalgia.
They were cheap, and I'm like, oh man, I used to love this game so much. I want to play it again.
Was it terrible?
It was.
There's some of them that can withstand the test of time. Then there's other video games that
it was different, but because I mean, video games have a lifespan too, where like at some point they stop supporting it.
Of course, it's like a show. Even like you watch a show back in the 90s, you're like, well, all right, like Home Alone. I mean,
yeah,
he would have just called his mom on his cell phone. He said, "Hey, Mom, you forgot me at home." Things just sometimes don't withstand the test of time.
No, but back to your question, it's like, is it the same? Not really, but it's close enough to still hit that nostalgia. And I'm like, okay, this is
gives you a little bit of fun.
It's still enjoyable. I remember sitting in my bedroom playing with my cousin online with these games. It was. I thought it was a good purchase, and I stand by it still.
It was probably cheap these days.
Oh yeah, it was like less than $20 or something.
What's your chosen system? Are you a computer? Are you a?
Right now I'm mostly playing on a PC my buddy gave me, but
Okay.
before that I was an Xbox guy.
All right, so Xbox. I've always been a PlayStation guy. I mean, it was the first one I got, the first like system that I have. I've had the Xbox, and it was fine. I have nothing against it, but I've just always been a PlayStation guy. I've never been a PC guy ever. I've never played video games on a computer.
So the first we got a PS1 and a PS2 when I was real little. Then I had an Xbox and an Xbox 360. So early on, I was Sony. Later, in high school, I was, Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I, don't really have time, it's like I knew I had a PC that was good enough to run these games. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to buy something else. I'm just going to download the games on PC and buy a controller and play it on my laptop. So.
And they're probably better. I mean, PCs these days are built so well that.
Yeah, there's a little bit more fine tuning you have to do to actually make it work right. But
yeah,
other than
I
that,
think that's why I've never tried it, because I know with the PlayStation, I plug it in, and I'm ready to go in like 14 seconds. A PC, you got to do a little bit more setup.
yeah,
and I've always been terrible with like the keyboard where you have to like push the AB, whatever.
Well,
ACSD.
I bought an Xbox controller to hook up to my.
That's
Yeah.
smart.
Right.
All right, I wanted to bring one more study into this. So there was another recent study. This was, I think, early 2010. This 2011, 12. And this one's kind of a little different. And what they did is they basically assigned a bunch of college students to 4 different groups: violent game. So the key here is rumination.
What the hell does that mean?
Rumination basically means you think about it after the fact.
Okay.
So what they did is they have 4 different groups: violent game with rumination, violent game without rumination, non-violent game with rumination, and non-violent without. So basically what they did is they had these college kids play whatever group they were assigned to for 20, 30 minutes a day. And then the rumination group, they told them to think about it. Like, hey, after you're done playing this, I want you to think about this game for like the next 24 hours. Like if it was GTA or whatever it happens to be. Whereas the other group just like, all right, played it. It was my outlet, done, 20 minutes. And they did find that the group who legit like focused on thinking about killing or whatever they were doing in their video game, their violent video game, did show more signs of aggression 24 to 48 hours after playing.
That doesn't really surprise me.
It doesn't either, because when you think about anything, if you ruminate or think about anything that makes you angry,
you're gonna be
probably gonna be some
elevated.
lasting effects.
Yeah,
cortisol. I mean, physiologically, there's probably some cortisol levels in there if you're thinking about just being stressed by playing that video game. Maybe you lost, maybe you killed somebody. I don't know. So I just thought it was interesting that when you, I guess it's how you use it.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, in this case, they were legit telling you, hey, be angry about this or ruminate on this negative thing and then see how that impacts your behavior 24, 48 hours later.
I'd be curious if people are like, I'm pissed off in my day-to-day life. I'm going to go play Grand Theft Auto
That's
and
true.
kill a bunch of people.
But, I mean, realistically, could that not be a better outlet?
No, it could be a better outlet,
Than
yeah.
taking your
but
frustration out on your kids or your wife or your coworkers? Or...
No, I think it definitely is an outlet to blow off steam. But it's like, I don't know. I've never experienced that where I was pissed off. I mean, I've experienced, being pissed off and turning a video game on to relax, whatever that video game is. But I've never turned on a video game because I was pissed off. Like, I'm going to kill all these motherfuckers.
And this will help relieve my stress kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
video games are a stress outlet for a lot of people. But I would say that not a lot of people are, logging on because they're pissed off and they want to kill people and they know it's bad to do in real life.
Did you ever do that, Sam?
No comment. No comment. No, like Tyler was saying, I'm hoping people aren't going into GTA so they can just go run over pedestrians on the road. But unfortunately, I'm sure there's people out there that's how they relieve stress. They are looking for that. And I think it's when people are no longer able to separate that, what they're doing in the game from reality is what Tyler was saying. Now you can't separate the two. I go into the video game looking to relieve stress by running over pedestrians, shooting people. What's going to be the trigger that allows you to jump from just doing it in the video game to being like, no, I want to take this into the real world.
But look at the ridiculous factor. It's like I think we're all regular, reasonable people, but it's like, oh, in Grand Theft Auto, I can, run over pedestrians and, rob this hooker. Like, it's just so ridiculous. You're like, yeah, that sounds kind of fun.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's campy. I mean, you're not doing it just because you're doing it because you can, I guess, at the end of the day.
Well, you're doing it. I think you're also doing it because you know it's not real.
Exactly.
If you knew,
if I were a hooker walking up my street right now, I wouldn't be like, hey, I'm in my truck, let's hit her. Or, hey, let me pull her in the back, have my way with her, and then shoot her in the head and take her money.
Right.
I mean, it sounds asinine.
Right.
When you put it like that, but I guess the argument could be made that maybe somebody out there, but again, I still think at the end of the day, if that's somebody out there, they had underlying issues.
Oh, for sure.
It wasn't the game that provoked them.
No, it wasn't.
Now, maybe it put the idea in their head. I think you can make an argument for that.
You could probably make an argument for that, but
again, there was still, to actually act on, we all have terrible ideas. That's just the way the brain works. You can't turn that off.
Right.
But whether or not you act on those terrible ideas is what separates us from the apes.
Yeah, so the more we talk about this, even with the advancements in technology, I really don't think that video games have an effect. I'm not going to say an effect, but I don't think they're causing an epidemic of violence in America.
No, I don't think there's a one-to-one correlation between the two, but I think it could
be.
definitely be a clear early indicator of some potential other underlying issues that may need to be addressed. And that's, again, where I think it's the parent's responsibility to kind of be looking out for those. If you have a kid that doesn't socialize at school and now he's coming home and he goes right up to his room and he locks the door and he's up until 4 a.m. playing GTA, Modern Warfare, Call of Duty, might be something else going on there. But you have some kids come home, they hop on with their friends when they get home from school. Yeah, did you see me kill that guy? Ha, ha, ha. Yeah. That's a completely different story going on there.
Now, do you think the ability to have like the online changes anything, positive or negative?
I mean, with the online, you got, instant communication to the people you're playing with, and people are assholes.
I've legit never played online just because I was never good enough at any game to feel worthy of doing so.
See, I kind of exclusively played online.
Did you?
That's why I bought games, is to play live with other people, because I thought that was more fun than playing the actual game. And I can see that, just how inherently mean people can be over those chats would have an effect on you for sure.
All right. What do you think, Sam?
It's kind of the same. It's almost like you could categorize it the same as bullying almost, I think.
It essentially is. Yeah. I mean, it's online bullying. I mean, and there have been like actual legal cases where people have said things over online technologies and they've gotten in trouble for it.
And it's like, there's like no, I think they're doing better now, but there used to be like no repercussions. And it's like, you could just say the most vile things to people because you were 1 degree separated through, the internet, and you didn't have to see them or say it right to their face.
Of course. So you say they're doing better. Are they doing better with that, Sam? Like, is there more regulations?
I think they're doing better with monitoring it, and like if you report somebody, they take it seriously. Gotcha. And they'll review it, kind of a thing.
Yeah, no, you're always going to join into a toxic server here and there where you have people chirping you, calling you all sorts of names.
I mean, those are the ones you see. In your experience, are most of the ones pretty good people, just people playing?
Yeah, pretty good people.
Yeah.
I mean, now you have the option where you can just turn off chat with other people altogether, and you can just play by yourself, or you can make it so you're only interacting with like people that are in your group. Gotcha. So you can completely eliminate those random people saying all sorts of things.
Okay.
And that's always what I did too. I'm like, I don't want to talk to these people. I want to be connected to the people that I'm playing the game with that are my friends.
Yeah.
But I don't want all these random people talking to me.
That's fair.
Yeah,
I feel like they would just distract me too much. Maybe that's why I never got into it.
It's no more toxic than going into X or Twitter or Facebook.
That's
these
a good
days.
point.
You're
These days,
going to see
social media
just
is
as many
bad.
negative comments, people spouting off whatever they think.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. All right, what's your final take, Tyler? Have we changed any opinions?
Yeah, I think I was leaning no already, but I think I'm further towards no than I when we started this conversation. Yeah.
What do you got, Sam? You're pretty firm no.
Yeah, no, I think that I'm a pretty non-threatening boy after playing video games for better part of 25 years. So yeah, no, there's definitely, you're going to find instances where, in the case of like Columbine, they very heavily played Doom, and I think it was Wolfenstein 3D at the time. But then you have I think it was the Virginia Tech shooting where before any news came out, you had people coming out and saying, oh, it's because of Counter-Strike. And then after the investigation, it turns out, oh, the shooter didn't play video games at all. So again, it very quickly became just a quick
scapegoat.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I think as Tyler was mentioning, if this truly was a direct correlation, we would have an epidemic
Everybody
right
be
now
walking around
of
shooting
juvenile
everybody.
crime. Exactly.
Yeah. No, I think I tend to agree with both of you. I think obviously, again, always outliers. We can't factor those into the equation because there's going to be outliers in every situation. But I think generally, yeah, video games are a great outlet for a lot of people. It's a way to de-stress and to just kind of calm down after whatever your day may happen to be. And it's enjoyment. I mean, it's entertainment at the end of the day. It's no different than watching a movie or scrolling Facebook or any other outlet that we choose.
And they have gotten better with the ratings as they gone further. Like when the ratings first came out, it was just like it was a blanket category, but now it's like rated M for mature because of swearing, sexual violence, things of that nature. So they've gotten more descriptive with the ratings, and I think that really helps to tell people what's in this game before they actually start playing.
Yeah, exactly. It lets parents make a more informed decision, which is ultimately, I guess, what it comes down to. Because we can't parent the whole world; it's the parent's job.
Right.
All right, so we're staying with video games for our fun topic. Sticking on that topic, we, like I said, I'm not a current avid gamer, but I used to play more when I was younger. So we're going to talk about our top 3 video games of all time. We're going to start 3, work our way to number 1.
Perfect.
Tyler, you want to start us?
Sure.
Number 3?
Got to go with Mario Kart.
Mario Kart, okay. There's a fair argument that could have caused a lot of shootings.
Those red shells, man.
People get so angry and heated at that game.
Got to have regulations on those. No, it's that game's just fun. I mean, it's
definitely probably my favorite game to play with people.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's not one you really want to. I mean, yeah, I guess you can play it by yourself and beat all the levels, but it's definitely one of those ones that you want to play with somebody.
I like the one on the N64 for sure with the terrible ass graphics.
Yeah.
And I also loved Mario Kart Double Dash for the GameCube.
GameCube, man, that's bringing back some memories.
Yeah.
I never had a GameCube, but
they had remember the tiny ass discs they had?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Lost many of those.
Well, of course you did. They're so tiny.
What do you got, Sam?
Sticking with Mario, the N64 Mario 64 was probably my favorite of the Mario kind of RPG games. It was one of the first ones I played on the N64. I think I got it with for Christmas with Donkey Kong 64. So it's one of those collectathon games. I don't know. I just always loved it. You had the 20 different levels you could go to, kind of one of the first somewhat sort of open world kind of games out there. So it definitely steered me towards those kind of games moving forward.
The RPG type games?
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird kind of how Mario progressed through the different times. I mean, you had your original Marios back in the day where you just did different levels and tried to do it. And then, you got the RPG. And what's the most recent one? The Switch?
Yep, the Switch. I'm not sure even what the newest Mario
one.
It was Super Mario Odyssey, I believe.
Yeah, I had that, and then I gave my Switch to my little brothers because I never played it. But yeah, it was interesting because it's a completely different gameplay than like the OG Marios.
For sure.
I personally preferred the OG Marios. Talk about that in a second. Our number 3 for me is actually my most modern game of the 3 that I've chosen here. It's The Last of Us. So they came out with a series. Maybe that's how a lot of people know it, is the series that came out. I think it's HBO did a series, and they're in process of making a new season right now. Great series, by the way.
Very good.
Very good series. But it originated actually as a video game. Usually it's the other way around, but this one actually originated as a video game. A great video game. It's kind of this post-apocalyptic type world where you're trying to survive, and he picks up this random girl that he's trying to survive with, and you're fighting lots of different things. Cordyceps which the mushrooms kind of infect people. So yeah, that's probably number 3 for me is Last of Us. Did you ever play that one?
No. I never played. I never had the newer PS or the PlayStations.
Okay.
I stopped after the PS2, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think this was 2013, so that'd be what, PS3 or 4 maybe?
3 or 4, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's number 3 for me. What you got number 2, Tyler?
Number 2, I'm going to go with Skyrim.
Oh, okay. That's a good one.
I really, really enjoyed that game. That's actually one of the games I downloaded on my PC to restart.
All right. See, I played that one, so we could play that one together. Did you ever do Skyrim?
Oh, yeah. I lost many an hour in college playing Skyrim. Probably failed 1 or 2 tests purely because of Skyrim.
That's fair.
It's just really fun.
It's one of those open world RPGs where you're just running around and you can do so many random different things at any given point. Obviously, there's a main story that you're trying to get through. But yeah, there's still...
it's kind of like medieval Grand Theft Auto almost.
Kind of.
Yeah, think of it like, that's not an super accurate description, but for people who have no idea what we're talking about.
All right, so when you're playing Skyrim, are you a side quest guy or are you a main quest guy?
I am very bad at getting lost in side quests where I'll try and get as close to 100%ing the game as I can without doing any of the main story, which is probably not how they intend for the games to be played.
I'm the exact opposite. I'm like, fuck this. I'm going straight main quest. And when I get to the very end, I'll beat the game and it'll show me, oh, you're only at 30%. I'm like, no, where's that other 70% at?
Yeah, no, I think it's probably because of like Donkey Kong 64 going out, you had to collect 100 bananas for each character, and there were all these different things you had to collect, and I just loved that portion of the game because you have some of like the newer Call of Duties where, yeah, you have the online play, but the campaign's like maybe a couple hours long.
Yeah.
Really crappy story.
Yeah,
A lot of these newer games, just the immersion into the world and the world building that they do is just, you can get lost in it.
What about you, Tyler?
I feel like I go down a side quest rabbit hole.
Do you?
So like, I think for the first like 25% of the game, I'll stick to the storyline and say
then,
I'll
then
go
you'll
back
get this
to,
idea like, oh, I'll go do this.
no, or the storyline gets like too difficult and I've like failed the level too many times that I'm like, screw it, I'm going on all these
I'm
side
doing
quests.
side quests.
And then you go down this other rabbit hole of collecting armor and all sorts of crap.
And then you
so-
try to get the best character possible.
sure, of
Yeah,
course.
see, no, I'm a straight up. I want to get start to finish and beat this game as fast as I can, which is probably not. I probably take some joy out of the game doing that. But for me, it's about completion. And then I'll get to the end and it'll be over for one. Then I'm like, oh, well, I've beat the game now. No, I'm not going to play it again. Ever.
Yeah, right.
And then it'll show you like 40% completed. I'm like, wait, where's the other 60%?
So you didn't beat the game. You got
That's a good point.
60% left.
That's a good point. All right. What do you got for number 2, Sam?
A newer game, Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh, that was one of my honorable mentions.
Yeah, no, it was a game taking place in like feudal Japan, where you have the Mongol Empire trying to invade Japan, and you're trying to defend your village.
Jin, a samurai.
Yeah, I love anything that touches samurai. So that was one game. Again, there were side quests in that. I think I fully explored all the maps before doing one of the first main quests, and then by the time I was there, I was like, oh, this is maybe a little bit too easy. But
it was pretty easy because again, that's when I went pretty hard, start to finish, and I beat it moderately quickly in terms of video games. And I'm not a good gamer by any stretch of the imagination. I'm actually a terrible gamer. That's why I don't do online, because I would get destroyed by 4-year-olds and feel bad about myself.
Yeah, it was very cool. You could have different fighting stances.
Yeah.
So depending on what enemy you're fighting, you would have a stance that's more appropriate for them, and whether or not they have a katana or a spear or a rifle.
All right. Side question: are you a cheater? Do you like go to the online things like when you need to find some, like you just keep getting beat by this boss and you?
Bosses, no. But if I'm doing a side quest and I'm trying to track down, all right, go find the 500th
You'll do the quick
pigeon
Google.
feather. I don't know where this pigeon feather is. Please tell me. So yeah, I'll use some little
Remember
walkthroughs.
back in the day how they had the whole books to go to the walkthroughs, and you could buy them for like $25 right next to the game.
I had the Majora's Mask one.
Nice.
Couldn't beat the Water Temple.
Nice. That's fair. All right, that's a good one. Yeah, that was one of my honorable mentions as well. I really did enjoy that game. That's, again, newish, 2020, 2022, something like that.
Yeah, I think it was like 2020, I think.
Yeah,
something
somewhere.
like that. Yeah.
Really fun
Newer.
game. Number 2 for me, I'm still actually going back to Mario for you guys, but I'm going with not OG, but Super Mario World. So this is the first NES version of the Mario Brothers. So, I mean, the Nintendo version was fine, but it's the Nintendo version. It's graphics, it's 8-bit, it's not that fun. I really enjoyed the Super Mario World, which was the first NES game with Mario. It's the classic one. I like Super Mario 3 too. Any of the NES ones I thought were pretty well done.
Yeah, no, I'll still throw those on just for something to play. If I
bought,
need something quick and easy.
I bought the what is the things where you can get them all preloaded? The little tiny versions.
Oh, the
that they sell.
emulators?
Yeah. It's, but it looks just like the old one, just half the size. And I had Amos playing it a couple weeks ago. He was up there trying to play the original Super Mario World.
Dude, you can get emulators for everything now.
You really can. Any of those old games.
I used to have an emulator on my PC for the Game Boy Color Pokemon.
Yep.
Pokemon Red.
I have that right now I think I have it on my phone, actually.
Hell yeah.
Nice. That's fun. So yeah, I'm going Super Mario World as my number 2. All right, we're down to number 1.
Number 1. This is a hard one, but I'm going to go with Halo 2.
I was never a Halo fan.
I like Halo 2 and 3. That's about where it stops for me. They've gotten kind of ridiculous with it.
Now I think this was out big when I was in high school, maybe early college, and a lot of people were playing it. And I didn't have a Xbox, so I didn't get to play it. It was strictly an Xbox back then.
Yep.
So I never played it, and I just never got into it.
I mean, I think that's where the majority of my nostalgia lies from high school is, playing Halo 2 online. And
With all your friends.
so I ended up downloading it on my PC and went back and started playing online with people. And I'm like, oh my God, do I suck at this
Now,
game?
do any of your old friends that you used to play for still play?
No,
No?
not at all. I just jump on there when I want to kill some time and just kind of chill out
Do
or
the
whatever.
random boards with random people.
Yeah, and it's fun, and you get shit rocked, and you feel bad, and you close your PC and you go to bed.
And you're like, why am I so bad at this?
Yeah.
And then you go out and kill somebody, right?
Yeah, no,
You thought too hard about that.
I didn't register what you said for a second.
Bringing it full circle. All right, Sam, what you got? Numero uno. You're the
Numero
biggest gamer
uno.
here, so.
Yeah. Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
You son of a bitch.
I
Is that
know.
what you had?
That was my number one, too.
Because it's the best. I mean, you can't beat it. It changed video games, in my opinion. Where
Agreed.
again, similar with like the Mario, it was somewhat open world, but I think this was really one of the first immersive games where you could kind of go anywhere you wanted
It
to,
was.
right
It was
from
one
the
of the first
beginning.
ones, yep.
Once you got out of the Deku Tree into Hyrule Field,
The
you could
Deku
do
Tree.
anything you wanted. You might not be able to get very far, but I just loved it. It kicked off my love for all the Zelda games.
I think you're right. I think it did really change gaming. I mean,
Yeah.
this was late 90s. I think it was 98 when it came out, 97, somewhere around there. I mean, it did. It completely changed how games were at that point in time. Because after that, you had your Marios, your individual levels, things like that. This was kind of one of your first open world
Exactly.
experiences.
Yep. You had side quests in there where you had to do the little trading quest to get the big Goron sword that
And shit was
took you
hard.
forever.
It was hard.
It was very hard. You had to get from one end of the map to the other in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Very hard. Those
Yeah.
eye drops would expire.
Yeah, exactly. That was my number one, too.
Any honorable mentions?
I got a lot of honorable mentions, but I did have the Breath of the Wild.
Great game.
I had that kind of close number one for me. So since you took Ocarina of Time, I think is by far the best. But Breath of the Wild, I think it'd be a close second. That's the newer version. They just came out with a new one, didn't they?
Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah.
Is it good?
It was good. I didn't like it as much as Breath of the Wild because
Okay.
it kind of took the same world and just added a couple new features to it. But yeah, Breath of the Wild was coming from, I think the game before it was Twilight Princess on the Switch, maybe.
Okay.
It was just a completely new take on that where, again, massive open world. They have all sorts of, they went real hard into the side quests within the Breath of the Wild game.
Gotcha.
And yeah, I think it was the game that pretty much put the Nintendo Switch on the map. I don't think without that game,
That's the reason I bought the
system
Switch.
wouldn't have. Same reason I bought it too at a
Yeah.
Toys R Us that went out of business like a week later.
Yeah, I bought the Switch strictly for that game, and now I'm sad because the new one came out, and I gave my Switch to my little brothers. I can't ask for it back.
You got money.
Yeah, but I don't need it. It's like you. I don't need another thing.
I get it.
That would be if I could make one video game request of the industry. I want to play any game on any goddamn system. As long as I'm paying for it, let me play any game on any system.
Yeah, for sure. That
That would be amazing.
system
but I get
exclusives.
It's a money thing.
Yep.
All right, honorable mentions, Tyler.
Yeah. Grand Theft Auto for sure.
All right.
Love that game. Super fun. Old school arcade game. Dig Dug.
Dig Dug. Yeah, we played that at the bar that one time.
Merchants of Beer.
Yeah, Merchants of Beer.
Before
Yeah.
they went under.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. Yeah, love that game.
Dig Dug.
Super simple, super old school arcade game, but freaking love it.
All right, if you're going arcade, Sam, what are you going?
Ooh, probably Space Invaders.
Space Invaders.
good one.
Okay. That's a solid one. I got the Galaga machine behind you right there. I do like Galaga. And actually, I was over at Alex's. He was on podcast last week. He's got the the NBA Jam
Oh, nice.
arcade game in his basement, and it was fun. I was like, man, this is pretty addictive because you can have 4 players. So it's got the setup for 4 players, and I was like, man, that's pretty fun. If I'm going classic arcade, you know I love pinball.
Oh, pinball's awesome. We were playing it. We were all
Yesterday.
playing it yesterday.
Yeah. If there's any pinball game, I'm gonna try to play it. It's just fun.
Is pinball a video game? I would argue no.
I would argue no as well. There's no video involvement.
It's an arcade game.
Arcade game,
Arcade
but not
game,
video
sure,
game. Yeah.
Sure.
All right.
Same but different.
Sam, you got honorable mentions?
Yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2.
That's a good one.
So yeah, again, GTA, but in the Wild Wild West. If you want to tie up some civilians and lay them out on the train tracks and watch the train go by, that's your game.
Yeah, and then you do it in real life.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good one. I've got a couple. You guys remember Twisted Metal?
Yeah.
Rings a bell, but I don't know it specifically.
It was Mario Kart, but
With these like
more violent.
Yeah, I just always remember. Everybody remembers this one. It was the ice cream truck with the big
The
clown
clown,
face
yep.
on top, and you had like bazookas, and you could get like upgrades for all your different cars, and it was basically it's basically a demolition derby with
Nice.
bunches of random cars.
Did you guys ever play Crazy Taxi?
Yeah, I
Of
love
course.
Crazy Taxi on
Yeah.
the Sega Dreamcast.
Yep.
Yeah.
I did. I didn't have one, but anytime I'd go to my friend's house, he had one, and I loved that game. You could just go and try to make money as fast as you can, dropping people off.
That was a
such
fun
a
one.
terrible concept, but it was really fun.
Looking back on it, yeah, you're like, what the hell is this
I'm
game?
just driving around people.
No, I spent way too much time playing that game.
Yeah. All right, so I got Twist Metal. I was a big fan of all Resident Evil games,
Yeah. Those are
especially the
good.
OG Resident Evil games. I mean, I guess same kind of similar to Last of Us, so maybe that's why I like it. You're just going around killing zombies in post-apocalyptic type worlds.
Yeah, they're doing the remakes of all those now. I just finished playing the Resident Evil 2 remake.
Now, are the remakes better graphic wise, or how do they?
Better graphic wise, they changed it up. So like back in like the early Resident Evil ones, it was just kind of like the top view. You enter a room, you walk around the room and leave
Yeah.
it. This is more like
Straight on. Okay.
first person interactions and
All
stuff,
right.
moving more into like the first person shooter realm. But
Now, are you playing those on computers or?
yep, computer, yeah,
Okay.
through Steam.
All right, nice. Steam. Do you have a Steam account?
Yes,
Dude,
Nice.
Steam has changed the game.
yes, it has.
I like it. That's what I use on the PC too.
Now, are you a streamer?
No,
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 not good. Not
I'm
good enough.
Not nearly good enough. I
No.
would get.
I
made
mean, there's
fun
people
of.
making tons of money with video games these days.
It's like 12-year-old kids making hundreds of
I know,
thousands of
sitting
dollars.
there just legit playing a video game. That's. I mean, that could be a fun job. You'd have to get really good though.
Yeah.
One of my coworkers' son has a scholarship to college for video
Esports.
games.
Yeah, esports is a big thing these days. I
Yeah.
mean, I think there's talk of actually putting it in the Olympics. I don't
I-
know if
I don't
it's not
agree
quite
with
the
that.
same thing. I think they should be their own, but
Give it their own league, but
yeah, there are leagues. And there's a lot of money in it these days.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's tons of money. Any other honorable mentions? I got a couple more if you guys don't.
I played Forza a lot, the racing game.
Okay.
Call
What
of
was
Duty.
it? Gran Turismo? Is that another one?
Gran Turismo was, I think, the PlayStation version.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Call of Duty, obviously, played a lot of that in high school.
Yeah.
That really kind of I played a lot of video games, but not in quantity. Like I had a handful of games that I played exclusively, and that was it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'd say any of the God of War games.
That was one
Right
of
up my alley.
yeah.
More so just because I'm a nerd for mythology. So
we
you-
need to.
you
We're
get
gonna
the
have to apparently game. We have a lot of the similarities. That was another one of mine.
Yeah,
What
you get
about,
the OG ones in ancient Greece, and then the newer ones where you're in Norse mythology. So they're all great.
What about Assassin's Creed?
Awesome.
I always loved Assassin's Creed. My favorite was the Syndicate, where you were kind of going through the Industrial Revolution, and you like get to talk to Benjamin Franklin and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, those games were great from like a historical standpoint.
You
Just
actually
kind
learned a lot.
of, you did. Yeah, they were pretty historically
really
accurate
were.
for the most
And
part.
I think I read something once that was their goal, was to make it as close as you can in a video game to accurate.
I have no idea if this is actually true, but after the Notre Dame fire back in 2019,
Yep.
I believe they used one of the Assassin's Creeds to go around the cathedral to get an idea of what did it look like beforehand,
shit.
because it was built like a some sort of scale model. And they were using
so
that
they
to
used
help
that
them.
game to try to basically rebuild it.
Yeah,
That's kind of wild.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I read it somewhere. Don't know how true it is, but I thought it was pretty interesting.
I'm going to believe it's
It's
true.
on the internet. It's true.
I'm going to
Must
believe
be.
it's true.
Must be.
Yeah, so that was another one for me. So yeah, God of War, Assassin's Creed. Yeah, I think I hit on all my honorable mentions. Anybody got any others?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
All right, Sam and I got to play. Apparently, we like a lot of the same games. All right, I guess that brings us to hot takes.
Hot takes.
That's so hot.
So
You do like that, don't you?
I really do. All right, I'll start, and Tyler, you can end us.
Okay.
So my hot take. All right, I'm going to start my hot take with a question for both of you.
All right.
What do you do?
What do I do?
What do you do? When somebody comes up and asks you, what do you do? Hey, Tyler, nice to meet you. What do you do?
Well, I think the off-the-cuff answer would be related to what you do for a living.
Okay.
So that's how I would take that question.
Same way, Sam?
Same way.
All right, good. That's perfect. Great segue. We didn't plan this. So that's my goal. I think we, and you guys know if you've listened to the podcast, I'm always about improving ourselves with my hot takes. So I think that we spend too much time putting our job as who we are. And you guys, again, perfect segue into that is I asked you what you did, and you said, hey, my job is what I do. That's not what you do. That's a very small aspect of your life. Arguably, it's a big aspect of our lives. It takes up a lot of our time, but that's not who you are as a person. So when somebody asks you, in the future, when somebody asks you, what do you do? Don't go straight to your job. Maybe go straight to what you enjoy doing. I brew beer, or I drink beer, or I play video games, or whatever it happens to be. So that's my hot take is let's stop defining ourselves by our careers.
I like it. That's a solid one.
All right. Sam, what do you got?
McDonald's French fries are trash.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Trash?
I would say they are the bottom of the French fry tier list.
No shit.
Yeah.
You think Wendy's are better?
I would say
Wendy's is definitely better.
I'd say
yeah.
Burger King's probably the best. And then
Burger
you bring
King's
in
the worst. You have the worst. You have good game taste, terrible palate.
Oh, no, you get a nice hot crispy Burger King fry over a floppy limp wrist McDonald's fry any of the day of the week.
All right, what's superior fry? Number one fry. Any fast food chain.
Number one, Burger King.
Is it?
I haven't been to a Burger King in probably 10 years.
There's one right next to the bar. You should go on your way to work today.
I don't really care.
I'm going Five Guys. I love a
Those are good.
Five Guy fries.
You know, we had a big argument about this over the past week. We were in Colorado for Thanksgiving, and we all wanted to go to In-N-Out because we
don't have one.
We don't have one, and it's like got this cult following. And we walked in, and it was a madhouse. And we sat down and we ate. I got the burger, double with the fries, and
mediocre at best.
It was 4 out of 10.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's fast food these days.
Don't get it. It was super, super disappointing.
So who's your favorite fast food fry then?
Around here, Pals, they got those
Pals
seasoned,
are solid.
Pals
Whatever their seasoning is, I don't know, it's good.
They got some seasoned fries. Wendy's has always traditionally had good fries. I like the how they don't peel the potatoes; they just run them through.
Yeah.
And fry
I think
'em.
that's maybe why I like Five Guys too. I just feel like Five Guys fries them a little bit better.
Steak and Shake always had good fries. I don't know if you guys.
Those little tiny shoots. I hate those. They piss me off because then I got to grab a handful to put them into my mouth.
You got to be in the right mood for them, but
they taste good.
Yeah, they're good.
I think they're just annoying. All right.
All
right. What do you got, Tyler?
So yeah, I alluded before. We just came back from Colorado for Thanksgiving. My hot take is when the plane lands and you get to the
clap.
No, not that. I'm not going that way. When the plane lands and you get to your terminal, sit the fuck down.
No, I hate those.
Everybody jumps up, goes in the aisle from the front of the plane to the back of the plane. You all know you're deboarding from the front to the back.
Same every time.
Sit down and just let it
there.
efficiently deplane. You got all these assholes that are like trying to get 2 inches ahead.
I'm fair if it's within 5 rows. 5 rows of you, all right, start getting up, moving around, grabbing your bags.
Sure.
But yeah, the people that just stand up the second it lands, and you're just standing there for 15 minutes.
You're in row 24. Sit down.
Yep. All right, that's fair. That's a good hot take.
It irritates the shit out of me, and it takes longer to deboard the plane.
It really does.
Now, if you have a connecting flight, yeah, do what you got to do. Get up and walk to the front of the plane.
Exactly. You do that before you even land. You start walking, be like, hey, connecting flight leaving in 10 minutes. I got to run.
Right. Other than that, 99% of the people on that plane, sit the hell down.
No, that's a good hot take. I hate you all of you people who do that.
For sure.
All right, Sam, anything? You want to end us?
Yeah,
Take us away.
I don't know. Well, thank you for having me again. Glad could finally make it onto the podcast.
All the way in just for this.
Well, you guys, when you flew out, you were talking. We got to get me and Marissa on. So I know she's hiding somewhere, too afraid to join us.
We'll get her next time.
We gave her the option. She shot that down. But
we need to give her more time to plan. That's what it is.
Yeah,
we'll get her next time.
Well, guys, we appreciate y'all listening to episode 29 of Lagers and Loudmouths. We appreciate Sam for jumping in last minute and being a guest here. Until next time, be safe and cheers, guys.
Thank you for tuning in to Lagers and Loudmouths. Be sure to never miss an episode by subscribing to us on your favorite podcast streaming service. If you would like to provide feedback or suggest a topic for a future episode, please reach out to us at logersandloudmouths@gmail.com.